want you to show me how to get to know someone like you, someone like you. I want you to know me, 'cause I know then you'll see we could be.
Hi everybody, Charlie Oswin here, TV and film makeup artist. So as you can see, I've already got the 60s hair and I'm here to show you the makeup to go with the 60s hair. Now I've been lucky enough to work on lots of TV dramas, films, the West End show of Hairspray, the series Scylla, George Gently, lots of different 60s productions. I'm going to go along the lines of the mod look, 60s kind of twist, and then my next video will be showing you how you can create this hairstyle. So I'm just going to clip my fringe out of the way so it doesn't get in the way. And I've already cleansed and toned, so I'm going to pop some moisturiser on, because we all know how important moisturiser is. It's going to hydrate our skin and it's going to add an SPF to protect us from the sun and the environment. It's going to rejuvenate and brighten our skin, helping us to put our makeup on better. So we're just going to let that soak in to the skin for a second. Really rub it in your skin, massage your moisturiser into your skin. Make sure you go down onto your neck as well. That's really, really important. As you can see, my skin is not great today, so I'm definitely going to need some extra help. So I'm going to use a primer, and this primer will not only help even out my skin tone, it'll help my makeup to last all day. And you only need the tiniest, tiny amount. Like, I will show you. Like pea-sized amount. I'm going to pop that in on all over my face like I would moisturiser. Again, down onto my neck. Make sure I go underneath my nose, over my eyelids, onto my forehead. And then I'll just let that settle in for a second. Then I'm going to get my amazing Mineral Touch foundation brush, which I absolutely love. You can see here it's got a little hole in it. And you get your foundation. So I'm going with my Mineral Touch foundation today. And I'm going to pop in here. My hands are all slimy now. I'm going to pop in here just 4 drops. 4 drops of the mineral foundation. And I'm going to start here where I've got a big blemish. I'm going to pop blobs on my face and then I'm going to buff. It is all about the buffing. Buffing it into your skin to get amazing coverage. And you can see within seconds of buffing, my skin tone is even more flawless. It's dewy and bright and looks a million times better than it did a second ago. So just keep buffing, and I make sure I buff it up to my hairline, ears, under my jawline, down onto my neck, underneath my nose, underneath my chin, over my eyelids. And then once it's buffed in and it's even all over where you need a bit more coverage, you can just press that in. Press that into your skin. Okay, so once that's on, we are then going to give a little bit of extra coverage for that thing that's on my head and some little bit of concealer underneath. So I've got Mineral Touch concealer, which is really rich. You only need, like, again, with all these products, they're so high pigment and rich, you only need a tiny amount. So I'm going to pop a bit on that blemish and underneath my eye bags. Get rid of those eye bags. So what you do with a blemish is what I see so many people make the mistake of then going like this over a blemish. You don't want to do that. You want to press the product onto the blemish. You then want to buff out the edge, because if you just go like that, you're just going to rub most of it off and you're not actually going to conceal the area that you want to conceal. And you can see now that is so much better. I just can't stand to look at my bags. Normally I would actually do my concealer last, especially when I'm doing a bit of a bigger eye look. When I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I just want to get rid of these bags as quickly as I possibly can. And it's the same with a lot of actresses when I'm working on actresses. Although if I'm doing a smoky eye or a cut crease look or a big eye look, I'm really tempted to do the foundation last. But I don't do that on actresses because, again, they're looking at themselves in the mirror and they just want to cover up the blemishes and cover up any imperfections as quickly as they possibly can. So they don't have to stare at themselves in the mirror. Now just on, I will powder my makeup in later on after I've done my eyes. But for now, just because I can't stand it if I don't, I'm going to get Behold Touch powder. And I've got a little flat brush here, and then I'm just going to press it onto the blemish. So what this will do is it'll conceal, it'll set the concealer in, but it'll also flatten it. So when you use powder, it flattens. And that's what we need to do to a raised blemish. I've also obviously got my fringe. That can cover it too. Good trick. So let's get some brows on because nothing looks right till you have your brows on. Brows, brows, brows. So today I'm going to use my brow pencil liner. And it's got a lovely high definition pencil. And I'm just gonna brush them into place. Now what we do know in the 60s is they did not have super huge eyebrows like we have nowadays, but they also did not have super thin. Somewhere in between. So I definitely need to thicken my eyebrows up a little bit. And we're just gonna add some definition, add some thickness to this part of my eyebrow. And then I'm just going to feather so they look like little hairs. I'm just going to add a little bit more under here just to build them up, and a little bit more on top. Get them looking more like 60s brows. I don't know who your favourite 60s icon is, but mine is most definitely Audrey Hepburn. Now this is definitely not an Audrey Hepburn inspired look because Audrey Hepburn wore her makeup a lot natural than what I'm going to do it. And I will do an Audrey Hepburn look for you because 100% my favourite. Now within TV and film, a lot of the time we do put modern twists onto the makeup, depending what it is and depending who the actress is. But sometimes, so it suits their face shape and suits their style. Other times you want something to look so authentic. You want to really make sure people are stepping into the 60s when they're watching that programme. I certainly know it's the first thing that I look at. When I'm watching a period drama or film, I like to know that what period it is within the first 10-20 minutes by the costumes and by the makeup and the cars and the set. It's really important to me. So I am now going to get a little brush and I'm going to get some eyeshadow pigment because this will help to even out my eyes, and it will also help to keep my eyeshadow on even longer. So I'm going to start on the bottom of my lid and then I'm going to go up to my brow. Bottom of my lid up to my brow. I'm just going to let that soak in for a second. Now in the 60s, some of the favourite looks, there was a few, obviously it's 10 years. We always say this is a vintage look, this is a 60s look, this is a 70s look. But when you're working in TV and film, you actually have to research that exact date that you're working on. So we had a lot of pale pinks, pale greens in the 60s, but we also had more of the mod look, the black and white, really dramatic eye. So I'm just sharpening my pencil so it's ready. I'm just letting this eye soak in for a second. Okay, so I've got a white pencil here. I've got it quite blunt and soft, but you can see how soft these pencils are. And I'm going to use this on my eyelid all over. I'm literally going to pop it all over my lid, and then I'm going to buff it in. Even up to my brow, but you can see I'm not putting it on really strong. I'm still being quite light-handed with it, and I'm then going to use a brush to really buff it in to make sure it's even and it's not too dramatic. Even and blended. Same on the other side, we want it nice and even all over, up to the lid. Then we're going to use the brush and we're going to blend it in, blend it in. We're going to use this same white on the inner eye, on your waterline, and you're going to go a little backwards and forward motions to really get it in there. And then I'm just going to go over a tiny bit more with the white, get it nice and a little bit stronger on the lid. Again, I'm going to buff that in so it's really nice and even all over the lid. So what do we have next? What do you think? We need a really small brush, really little brush, and I'm going to get a black matte eyeshadow. So this is a unique Moonstruck Addiction palette. These are really high pigment. Now what I like to do is I like to load up my brush, tap off the excess, test the pigment on the back of my hand, because if you go straight in there and put this product on your eye, especially when you're using such dark colours, if you put too much on, it's going to be a nightmare. You're better to put less and build up. So I'm then going to look at myself straight into the mirror, and you can see my socket, right? I'm going to go in with a flat end, and I'm just going to do a little backwards and forwards motions all the way across into that socket line. Now I do need to get my mirror and check this. And you can see the perfect socket line, but we've gone out a little bit, so we just want to get that. Again, you want to go the same the other side. Follow that socket line. And then once you've got it, you just want to check that it's actually in the socket line and it's not gone down onto your lid. And then we're just going to deepen that even more. Just going to make it even more dramatic. Now, do you know what? You know, this day and age, the word blend. The word blend is everywhere. You know, today, we're not going to blend. We are not going to blend. Can you actually believe it? So I'm just going to get this light silvery colour here. And I'm just going to press this onto my lid. Just to make sure you get the really dramatic difference between the socket. Okay, so what's next is underneath. Peppy, the matte black, tap off the excess. I've got a little slanted brush and I'm going to go right underneath. My lashes. I'm not going to do the whole drawing on of lashes. In the 60s they tend to draw extra lashes on to give that doll effect, to really make sure that their lashes was really dramatic. So next, just bear with me, I'm just going to pop over here and get the eyeshadow that I need, which is Magnificent. This is a gel liner and it also can be used as a eyeshadow, and I'm going to use this as my top line. I'm just close my eye and I'm going to get really close to my lash line and I'm going to sweep across. Now this is super important. You want it really straight and you just want it to be a little bit thicker at the end. And then we're going to flick it out slightly. And you'll worry about the flick in a moment. Do the other side first. So again, you want to make sure you're getting it really, really straight. Sweep across. Get it close to that lash line, make sure there's no gaps. Just going to look over there and I'm going to get right in. Right in there. And sweep again. And then you're going to add your flicks.
I want you to show me how to get to know someone like you, someone